Swaminathan Aiyar, good to be with you right here in Business Tonight as we discuss the economic agenda this evening. Just to put it in perspective for our viewers, how important is this vote on account and why should corporate India and markets care about this? This isn't a full-fledged budget.
I don't think the vote on account is particularly important. It will be, so to speak, the latest report card on the fiscal situation in the economy. And that is something which is not completely new. We have been tracking this. We already know that, for instance, 95% of the budgeted spending had already taken place in the first 9 months of the fiscal year. That much is known. We have a very fair idea that the taxes have not been buoyant. Overall tax buoyancy, I think, half to two-thirds only of what was expected in the budget. All these things are known. So what remains is, Chidambaram had claimed there's going to be this huge increase in plan expenditure. That's not going to take place. We all know that. So he's going to cut back on that, and various expenditures will spill over beyond March 31st to the next financial year. This is the usual smoke and mirrors that we have seen from Chidambaram and other finance ministers. It's not new again. So, I don't see anything very dramatic. He has promised he will stay within the 4.8%. And you can always meet that 4.8% target by postponing some of the expenditure to the next financial year. So I think it will be unremarkable, but he will nevertheless do it. I think he will, on the other hand, boast that he will finally meet some targets like disinvestment, spectrum and so on, which earlier there was great skepticism about. He may say, well, on this I have delivered. I'm sure he will talk about clearances of all kinds. That's hundreds of thousands of crores worth of projects. They were all stuck. I have come here and we have now cleared all these and the path is now there for India to boom again. I think this is the kind of speech.
Right. Swami, it's also important to keep an eye on the vote on account to get a sense of, what part of this year's subsidy bill gets pushed on to the next fiscal. That's a key concern, really, because that could, give us a sense of what could be the fiscal deficit target for FY15.
Well, this is an old thing. It's been going on for some time. What has been passed on from this year to next year is, to some extent, it has been the subsidies. I believe in the current fiscal year, about 45,000 crores of last year's oil subsidies spilled over to this year. So you started off with that particular problem and saying, I must at least pass on 45,000 crores to the next year. But it is not only spending on subsidies that can be passed over. Spending of all kinds can be passed over. Income tax refunds can be passed over. Chidambaram has been doing this trick of getting public sector companies to declare interim dividends. So next year's revenue is being brought forward to this year's revenue. So all this is smoke and mirrors. These are various tricks being used to create this 4.8. And it is not difficult to do that. With a combination of bringing forward some kinds of revenue and putting off some kinds of expenditure, it can be done. But the fact remains that the fisc is in bad situation. If he achieves 4.8% of GDP as the fiscal deficit, that is not a true measure of government overspending. Government overspending, I would say, is closer to at least 6%.